ExpressionSuite offers some really nice capabilities in the area of security, data tracking, and auditing that regulated labs might find appealing. That's why in this video, we'll see how to activate these otherwise hidden features in the software and to set up appropriate security parameters. So what's this optional feature designed to do? First and foremost, it assists with any tightly controlled activities, such as those requiring 21 CFR Part 11 compliance. It does so in part by offering security, audit trails, and e-signatures. And, as a bonus, the feature allows us to maintain electronic rather than paper records for any tasks requiring a downstream submission process. In terms of security, the software prevents unauthorized manipulation of data in several ways, by authenticating login information, locking out access to the software after a defined period of inactivity, which then requires the user to log in again, keeping track of unsuccessful logins, verifying that a user has permission to perform specific tasks, and detecting any changes to the analysis of data that occurred outside of the user's specific copy of the software. The e-signature feature ensures electronic signing is done appropriately by verifying permissions to e-sign, recording e-signatures for predefined signing types, restricting the user's actions in the absence of a required e-signature, and including all e-signatures in printed and exported data. Finally, the data auditing feature I mentioned tracks changes to data in two ways: by storing audit trails containing complete descriptions of any changes made, the user, and the date and time, and by allowing manual review of these audit trails. The security and auditing features aren't actually set up when we install the software. We have to both activate it and set up all the security parameters to suit our needs. Let's see how to do that. First, be sure all studies are closed before beginning. We'll activate the feature by going to Tools, Security, Settings. Right off, we're asked for a username and password. Let's simply enter Administrator for the username, and again, Administrator with a capital A for the password. Don't worry, we can change this later. Next, let's go to the System tab and click this button so that security will be enabled. Now, apply settings. At this point, we can start making changes, such as adding users. Under the Users tab, you can see that the Create button is now active. Let's click there. Probably the first thing we should do is create ourselves as a user rather than using the generic term administrator. So I'll enter all my information. Okay, next I need to choose my user role. We'll give ourselves the highest authority, namely administrator. There are two other choices: technician and scientist. Each of these roles has a set of predefined privileges, which I've listed here. Note that we can also find this list under the Help menu. If we were creating someone else's account, then we'd want to leave this box checked. That way, once the person logged in, he or she could change passwords. But since this is my account and I like the password I entered already, I'll uncheck it. We as administrators also have the ability to suspend or inactivate users. Now, my Save button doesn't show up and I have a little yellow flag here. Okay, so it's telling me that I need a username of at least 8 characters, so I'll just add a 1 to the end. Now, I'll save. And again, as administrators, we'll be responsible for setting up other users, particularly those with fewer privileges, namely the scientists and the technicians. Once a user has been created, an administrator can alter its settings by simply selecting the appropriate username, clicking Edit, and making the desired changes. Let's look at other options in the software. The Roles tab simply lists how many individual accounts have been created for a given role, whether the accounts are active or not. Under the System tab is where we can either enable or disable the security feature, change the required length of usernames and passwords, limit the use of older passwords, designate the number of days passwords are valid before they must be changed, and ensure that the software turns off after 30 minutes of inactivity. After logging in, an individual user may, at any time, go to Tools, Security, Change Password, and alter his password, even if it hasn't expired yet. Well, let's see an example of the audit feature in action. From the home screen, I'll select and open this study, which I prepared just for our demonstration. The data had previously been analyzed and saved, but I now want to make a small change. So I'll go under Samples and Groups, where I'll add some biological group names. So just something very, very simple. Okay, now I reanalyze the data, and I save my changes. When I go under Export, notice that there's a new choice, Audit Trail. Let's click there. Here we can designate a file name for our exported audit information, the place on our hard drive where we want to save it, and we can even designate the dates over which we want our report to include audit information. By the way, if you want to ensure that all auditing information for your study is included, enter an old date, even one from before the time that the study was created, and hit Export. And there we are, all changes ever made to the study while the security features were enabled. And that's all there is to using ExpressionSuite. Just remember to have a look at the embedded help menu I mentioned earlier if you have further questions. You can also give Life Technologies Technical Support Hotline a call or contact your local field applications specialist. LifeTech also offers numerous on-site and in-house training options. Please visit the training section of our website for more details. Until next time, so long.